Be an expert with our how-to videos for real estate. Here's some tips on the loan process.
Hey guys, Joe Massey here, Senior Loan Officer with Castle & Cook Mortgage, and today we're going to be talking about refinancing your loan and how you can know if that makes sense for you or not. So refinancing is a very popular question that we get, especially when interest rates are low. A lot of folks will call and say, Joe, I'm at 6%, should I refinance? Well, the answer to that a lot of times is maybe. You know, it really depends on a lot of questions and a lot of things about your personal finances to whether or not it makes sense to refinance. So when you call me to apply for a refinance mortgage, we're actually going to take a very good application and go through a lot of personal questions with you. I'm going to ask you, of course, about your income. I'm going to ask you about what you do for a living, how much money you have saved up. We're going to ask your social security number, your date of birth, information about your spouse. And then the big questions we're going to ask are, what are your goals with this property? You've been there for 3 years. Are you planning to keep this property for another 3 years or another 30 years? Or are you planning to sell it soon? What are your goals? And these things are going to help guide us to whether or not it makes sense to refinance. So a lot of folks are, of course, looking for the lowest interest rate and then call me up and say, Joe, I want to get my rate down to X percentage. Okay, no problem. We can do that. But then we'll start looking at the numbers. Does it necessarily make sense? Sometimes to get down to a certain percentage that you have in the back of your mind might cost you a lot in closing costs. Sometimes it might not, but sometimes it does. So it might make sense to review, hey, if we have a little bit lower closing costs and we're not financing quite as much, maybe our interest rate is higher by 1/8 or 1/4%, but that's going to benefit us in the long run. So a lot of the things we're going to look at are, what are the total costs? How long have you been in your home? What's the value of your home now compared to when you bought it? What's your loan amount now compared to when you bought the home? If you've built up equity in the property, it might make sense to do a refinance. Particularly, let's say you originally bought your home with an FHA loan and you had 3.5% down. Now 5 years later, you've paid down the loan, the value of the home has gone up, maybe you have 20% equity in the property now. We could do a refinance into a conventional loan to eliminate that mortgage insurance, help you save some money. Other times, maybe you bought the property with a conventional loan and maybe you put down 5 or 10%. And maybe the property is depreciated in value and you call me up and say, Joe, I really want to refinance because I'm at 7% and want to take advantage of these lower rates. We go through and we do an application, and hey, you know what? The best thing for you is going to be an FHA loan. A lot of folks say, well, why would I go from a conventional to an FHA? Well, sometimes it makes sense to do that if it's going to get you that lower monthly payment, lower interest rate, and help you in the long run. So these are a lot of the things that we're going to look at. Refinancing really is important to review what's going on with the property, what's going on with you, and make sure it makes sense for you. It's a big value that we try to add, is we don't just tell everybody under the sun, yes, I think you should refinance. We really want to go through it with you because there are some folks that I'll sit down with them, and at the end of our conversation I'll tell them, you know what? I don't think you should refinance. I think that you're in the best possible situation. I think you should stick with your current loan. So really it just is going to come down to your personal situation and reviewing everything in depth to make sure that you're getting the best possible deal and accomplishing your long-term goals. So thanks for joining us to talk about refinancing, and we'll handle all of your specific questions individually one-on-one, and look forward to seeing you in our next video.